Oh, hello guys. Kind of a surprise recording for me today. Eka has today off, so we've been spending a lot of time together, just kind of, doing domestic stuff. And that's mostly how we are. It's quite boring. There's not a lot of he's laughing. It's like it's really a lot of nothing. So it's a galactic Seinfeld episode. We joke around a lot. I do some cooking and we just hang out. And I was talking today about, you could land his little scout ship in the field up back. And I said, but do it gently, don't scorch my grass. And we were just kind of reflecting on some of the funny stuff we do. Like we have our own pizza gate. You know that story. I'm so sick of this. God. He had a bad pizza once, and he's like, "I'm going to hold you down and and feed you this bad pizza." I'm like, "No, stop that. It's gross." Oh my God. But yeah, we're just gonna probably do a little chat concerning some of the stuff that's come up with my friends and just us kind of talking about different things. And of course, I'm still like gagging and everything's ridiculous. This thing has been going on for 2 weeks. I stuck my head in a singing bowl this morning, like I'm banging. I don't know. We'll find out. Um, oh, actually, one tip I had for some folks, because I think a lot of us are getting nailed, is people aren't don't hug trees correctly. So if you're gonna hug a tree, you don't hug a tree this way. You hug a tree back way. So that's something to think about if and I recommend doing that now anyway, with all the crap that's happening. So you just make sure you lean up straight up against, press your back against the tree and then hug it like this. And I think you'll find that rather nice. Even if you live in a city, I think you could do that without looking like a complete twat. You could be in a park or something in a city and just lean up against a tree. No one will notice that you're doing anything strange. So that can be very helpful. So for me to telepath, I'm going to have to kind of, get into a different frame of mind. He's here. He's like leaning against me. I know a lot of you probably notice how these guys are. If you are with a hell Pleiadian, or even a tall Pleiadian. I think they're fairly, I've never dated a tall Pleiadian. He's like, of course, and I never will, and you never will. Of course, we have Will, our resident tall, Linda's husband. But oh, and of course, we have our tall walk-ins, two friends of mine. One is Patrick, and also Frank Chili. But yeah, you probably notice they spend. This is something that these guys will do. Um, they come up behind you a lot. They spend a lot of time sort of in a supportive role. No, we don't have sexism on Era. So women and men aren't seen as like, there's no religion either like that. So they don't have any odd sex roles per se. Now, obviously there are sex roles. It goes, I mean, female and male. So I mean, it's like the obvious. I think in any animal species, that's not just mammals, of course, right? There's a difference between the sexes, obviously. But generally, the males tend to be taller. They tend to be much stronger. These are humanoids. I mean, human's a human, and that's why I try never to use the word, it's a human versus a human. I mean, they're human, so there isn't any real difference there. Um, but yeah, that would be they're I think our nutrition and everything is a little different on Era. I wish I had my body back. But yeah, the men are much stronger than Terran men and human men, obviously, than Terran men. Do they tend to be taller person? I mean, maybe Mets and Mets, I guess, it depends. There's a lot of tall Terrans, so they generally run like 5'10" to up to 7 feet, are men. Most of them around middle of 6'3", 6'5", that kind of thing. The women are smaller, and they can be quite smaller, actually. What else do we want to share? Like I say, um, we always talk about food, like when we're home, when we're cooking. So, as I've already mentioned before, with telepathy and with a telepathic relationship, we can experience each other very clearly, even though it's astral right now. It's not safe to be in the physical together yet. So, we'll talk about that in a bit. That's kind of where our discussion is going to go. But like I said, I can taste food that he eats, and he can taste food that I mean. He can smell food as I'm cooking it, that kind of thing. Like you're not really a foodie per se. It's like I nice you like food. I wish he could. So weird. I wish he could. I wish he could talk with you guys. Well, you can. I mean, a lot of people have met him. You know, he he's available to chat, of course. I think most people, the biggest thing, now that I know Louis, he's Louis. Yeah, he's big nose. He doesn't have, you don't have a big nose. I don't know why she's. Now Louise was like, oh, he's got a big nose. Like, he doesn't have a big nose. He can hear you. It's like he doesn't have a big nose. My God. We do tend to have kind of an angular, almost Native American, really, if you think about it. If you think about Native Americans here and the way that their features are, just make them a lot paler. It's pretty close, to kind of how our features are. Of course, everybody looks different, it's like it's a whole planet full of people and we're not all the same. So yeah, no, you like food. You just like food. I mean, it isn't like particularly different, foods and stuff. We had Mexican the other day. You like that? And we had Chinese, leftover Chinese today. It was just like, that's good. You can't get good Chinese food on Era. No. So that's a plus being on here. Anyway, so what is it like with the military? Share that. Yeah, because you guys are blending in a lot better now. People are just getting used to the fact, right? So. And it's not noticeably different. There's not a really, there's not a big thing, there's different extraterrestrials that work with the military, but what they call Nordic. I mean, we don't have a word Nordic, so there isn't any race called Nordic. And you just naturally can feel the difference between what the, the Terran looking human would be. It can be Tau Ceti, it can be Venusian, it can be tall, it can be, even Sirius. Um, Alpha Centauri. They all similar, but there's a vibe that you get off the different people. That's how you know. Um, you just want to, I always say be wary about, there's no such thing as a Pleiad. I mean, there's Pleiadians, but it's like there's different, and there's some of them are not very nice, and they're the one you don't, I know the one you don't like, and we're not gonna bring, excuse me, we're not gonna bring that up. But yeah, it's. I think you'll enjoy that. I think most people will enjoy the hell. And that's when people think Pleiadian, I think that's likely the race that they're thinking in their heads, and they're very friendly and they're very open, and that's going to be, I think, something that your average Terran is going to really enjoy, as opposed to, I mean, I think, I've met a lot of very friendly people, upstairs. So there's not, it's just if you're looking for kind of bouncy, really friendly, kind of fun loving, that would be us. Anything else you want? No, yeah, I think some of the interesting, once they get over the idea, your average person, you're not going to notice much of a difference at all. I mean, you probably find out your neighbor is from Venus or something like that. There's not really, I mean, there's kind of a little different vibe, but I mean, you can really meet high vibrational Terrans. That's possible as well. Um, yeah, it's not something you would notice per se. So, do we? Do you want to say anything else, or should we get into trying to more complex conversations? Complex. The seafaring, that you like seafaring. Yes, I know I mentioned that before. That's why you were with Linda again, I think, last week, weren't you? You like the beach. Like, it's just a chance to kind of relax. It's very stressful. I think it's important for us to understand that the folks upstairs are alone too. They're away from their families as well. And it's yeah, this whole thing is just really dragging out and really stressful. But anyway, we want to just go. Hey, let's kick. Right, go. So we can relax. I got to go back to the barn anyway today. So he rides with me. I think sometimes little kids can see that and they're like kind of whoa. Well, my grandfather could see him. That was that was cool. Later on in life, my grandfather could see Eeka. He could, he's like, who's that other guy? It's like, well, thanks, yeah. Yeah. So, all right, I'm gonna kind of just tap into him a little more strongly, and bring up a video because you don't want to just see me staring at the floor for so as I try to connect. But I'm gonna bring this up. You might fudge around here and to pull up the screen share. Here we go. Advance right share. Blah blah. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Screen share. Okay. There we go. Now I'm gonna hide me because you don't need to see somebody staring at a floor. All right. There we go. Okay. What do we want to start with? What do we want to start with? Oh, how cute. Okay. So he says, well, the first thing he wants to say, he wants to welcome um his new friends. He wants to welcome his new friends to visit us. I said, in person, right? Not just astral, because they can always come in astral. But I mean, like on a ship, right? Yeah. Yeah. He says he wants to welcome his new friends. That's you guys. That's what he means. To Era. He wants you guys to come and visit. Yeah, I agree. Physically, not we're talking Astro. You can always visit Astro, but physically, yeah, he wants you guys to come. I think a lot of people will take up on that. A lot of people are going to go home anyway. So that was nice. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and there's these delays that if you think there's delays, I don't see if you see them as delays. Okay, he says it's there's some military tactics that are going on right now. We had two earthquakes here, right? Are they natural earthquakes? No, right? I didn't think they were either. We've been talking some of the stuff we've been talking about anyway. So the earthquakes on the East Coast weren't natural. Can you say what they were? Okay. He says strikes in the dumps. So there was some stuff going on there to kind of you're gonna collapse. Are they collapsing some of those things? They really are. All right. They are collapsing some of those places. Interesting. All right. Oh yeah, a lot of bad memories. Yeah, right. What are you gonna use them for? Exactly. Yeah, we don't need that stuff. Are they going to collapse a lot of them or yeah? Some of the ones that aren't going to be useful. Okay. Yeah. Some of them are just, yeah, they're going to collapse. The ones that are deeper down, they aren't going to be useful. They're not very, okay. He said they're not very nice. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, they were utilitarian. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Um, so some of the concerns that we have, as some of the other envoys and walk-ins that are working here as the ground troops. He says, okay, okay. He says, well, you got to stick together. He says, this is one thing he says now. He says, you got to stick together. He says, don't get wrapped up in that. Well, I got to say this. I got to say this in English. So what do you want me? See, like he's saying, like, what? How do you want me to describe this? Okay, all right. He says, "Don't get wrapped up." I'm going to kind of retract what we were saying here. Don't get all wrapped up or locked up in that fear-based way of doing things. You're all working together. Don't start spreading out into different tangents. Anyway, he says, understand that these messages for those people who are actually in contact. Okay, he says, be careful with these messages. Make sure they're the right messages. You will never be asked to separate yourself out. Just he says, like, he's showing me a peacock, like, strutting. He says, you'll never be asked to separate out. All of the messages will be geared towards the information that is allowed to be sent out. Okay, it's very complicated. Okay, he's saying there's many layers, many directions, many things being cleared up. So he's very, very layered, he says. Think about layers. He was showing me like rocks with all the different layers of rocks. He says you have to understand that no one is going to be receiving any kind of messages that are sort of we call them mission based or revealed. He says that's not going to happen. He doesn't even get them. It's obvious, right? It's far too dangerous, and also would compromise what's being done. Like I was saying, it's like I feel like they're playing ping pong right now between the deep state and the alliances. And he says, yeah, he says definitely, that's for sure. He says they're trying to push back. He says that we're pushing forward and they're pushing back. Okay. He says, and some of the movements that we're doing in operations are spur of the moment. It's very tight. Yeah, it's very edge of your seat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the main goal of the cabal is to kill as many people as possible. He says, and when we're trying to stop, this is very delicate. He says they're pushing like we're the good guys, are moving forward with a lot of these just would they be destructive to the cabal missions to take them down in many ways. He says without making it so obvious to the population on the crust. Because what the cabal is trying to do is sabotage. And they're trying to sabotage by hurting as many people as it can or creating these realms of fear. And I said, isn't that what the plane crash is? He said, absolutely. Um, is that's tragic. And that's what they do, right? That's what they do. Yeah, the cabal is they have no morals or anything whatsoever. And that's how they're going to do it. See, that's so what has happened is they've created understandably, that is absolutely understandably, quite a bit of fear. Uh, yeah, he said these attacks that they're going to launch are going to be completely nonsensical, and that's what you've seen. Pay attention to that which is nonsensical. He says, of course, that's what it is. He's not everything is going to be obviously part of this mission, or it's just some things that are natural disasters that can happen. There are other things that can happen that are just you can tell. He always says you should turn discernment that are just facts of existence. But he says these kinds of things that feel very strange are definitely going to be those that are orchestrated by the cabal because the purpose of what they're doing is to create, oh, excuse me, fear. And you should be, right? I said people should be not going to be feared, but I mean, they should be using discernment, right? They should be prudent. He said, yeah. He says, you have to be very prudent right now. Don't take chances, he says. You're right. He says, just always, if something, definitely, he says, you use your intuition. If something, if I always say, tell people remote view. Yeah. Use your remote viewing abilities. And he says, if something doesn't feel safe to you or doesn't feel right, you're having a funny feeling, he says, don't do it. And tell your friends too not to do something if you have those sensations for them not to be that they're not going to be in a place that's safe. Oh, there's Jesse, my Nordic repellent. Jesse the rooster. He's um yeah. So what do you think about the dripping of some of this disclosure stuff? Oh, and of course my aunt in Georgia saw her first her shippy ship. He's laughing. He's smiling. He's like, Maria saw her first ship. And that's real. And it's coming to visit her in the morning. Yep, that's a real one. Um, so that's going to keep going on. Yeah, that's going to keep going on. He says, get out there and when you okay. He says, connect with your family before you go out. He says, okay. Before you go out, connect with your family. He says, don't go in large groups. Okay. That's just you being extra safety minded. He's very safety minded, just to say this is not something that everybody was going to tell you. It's just him because he's very safety minded. He's very, um, yeah, he says, do you want to make yourself a target? He just feels that if you get into he says if you start advertising CE5 and getting into large groups, he says, you're just making yourself a target. He's just being very careful about that right now. It's very dangerous. It is very dangerous. But that's not right. I mean, we're not trying, he's like, it's not fear, it's just common sense. We're in the middle of a really weird war. So okay. But don't go, right? I can say another thing too. I always, right? He said, don't go out, put yourself alone in places that may not be safe either. He says, just get some family and friends together and then do it that way. He said, before you go, connect with your upstairs, connect with your family or connect. Excuse me. He says when you, I'm sorry, oh my God, that's awful. Um, he says do it in a very relaxed way. Oh my God, Jesse actually walked in this room. That he's laughing. Isn't that Ika's laughing? He actually came in here to yell. Oh my God. All right. He doesn't like me with Ika because roosters are protective. Oh my God, my bodyguard walks in the room. Okay, let's get back to it. Oh my God, this is our life. This is our daily life. He picks them. Jesse picks Ika. Twit. Oh my God. All right. Too many men. Oh, one of the things I want to mention here, the ladies, the Pleiadian, the hell ladies, right? It's going to be a lot. Oh, here he is. He's in here. I cannot believe he came in here. He's jumping in here. Jesse. My God. Um, I say it's going to be easier for the women when they're meeting their possible new friends. That hell men, they're quite nice. You guys are really nice. But the men on Earth who are going to be meeting Pleiadian women are going to be in for a surprise. They're quite spicy. I think a lot of your ET women, a lot of your ET women are quite spicy. And they're a little rock and roll. All right. So anyway, what you were saying is to, yeah, okay. He says to do like a not necessarily like a something like a meditation, something like that. But just to focus in on, you know, the families and to request contact with, one of the ships before you go out with your friends. Okay. And he's, don't be dissuade if it doesn't happen right away. It's like, it's realistic. They have to be able to come in. Sometimes they can't. They're not right. It's not a joyride. That's right. It's like, not you're not allowed to. There is still some concern about safety sometimes. You may not be in a safe area, or they may even just flash in quickly, something like that. I had one that actually was mimicking a plane. Now, not actually literally mimic, but you could tell it was a craft. And then when a plane came by, the craft mimicked a plane and then disappeared for a bit and then came back in. So that can happen. He says, get out there and have fun. Okay. It's like, now, of course, people want real contact. They don't want, he understands. It's all part of the military mission. He says we don't have access to do that yet. Um, I have received information from other people who work upstairs, and that those of us who have contact now are going to have physical contact this year. That is very possible, he said. Well, I know we're all, champing at the bit. It's not just, upstairs is they miss you. They want physical contact too, but they can't just come down because of the war, the situation. It's not safe for you and it's not safe for them. So, our aim right now is physical contact this year, one-on-one, right? Yeah. But he says definitely, continue making contact now with your families and friends and your mission, right? That is your, those of you who are having inklings now that you are in voice to begin really, really connecting with your contacts that are going to come in for you, whoever that is. It's, the more you quantum entangle, this is not, like, as we all know, this is not a magic trick. It's not a parlor trick. Quantum entangling is real. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you telepath, the better you get at it. You need to do that as part of your mission. That's why you're here. Because you're going to be showing the other Terran ETs, right? So to us, a Terran is an ET. There's no such thing as an ET. There's just us, right? And there are Terrans, that are fully them, right? That's what they are as a race. And your role here is to assist them and being who they really are. Basically, you're just removing all the lies so that they can understand that they are intergalactic like everybody else, right? It's just they're just you're floating in space on a planet. That's what we're all doing. That's what I always say. People, we're all born on planets. Well, some people are born on ships, but you're all from a planet. No one is from a ship. I mean, that's not. We're all from a planet. We're 440 light years away from this planet. Well, not both of us are here now, but I mean, you know, so yeah, yeah. Understand that you're in the right place. He says, where you're supposed to be for the mission, which doesn't always feel comfortable. I don't think it feels comfortable to any of us. He doesn't. No one's happy. Eka can think of being somewhere better than a military base. He doesn't want to be there. That's why you go to the beach. That's right. That's why he goes to, you know, it is what it is. You have to do this. And I think we both talked about this before about, coming here. And then I regretted it. And you're like, I made the right choice, right? Not that women are always right. No, I would say now you're always right. I always listen to you when he's like, no, you're right. But yeah, how far could we run ultimately? Doesn't make this any easier. I'm gonna tell you that. You know. So our advice from two miserable people. The advice from two miserable people. Yeah, just embrace that astral contact. It's really amazing. You have it. That's a plus. You know what it feels like. That's a plus. The Terrans don't even understand what love is, really. Most of them don't, and you do. And that's pretty nice, right? So it's weird, isn't it, though? For me, I will say that. And for you, of course. You're around a lot of men. Yeah, so it's kind of like, the astral is nice, but it's not everything. Yeah. Oh, Jesse. Oh my God, he's growling over there. Okay. Yeah, Ika just said something that I think is really important is to open up space for your star people, the ones that are feeling alone. It feels really good to help somebody else. So there's a lot of, you know, star people that are working on the earth and up on the ships and they really want to connect with you and they can only do that halfway. You have to meet them halfway. It's not going to fly that way and they feel really lonely and sad. And you know what that feels like. So, they're feeling lonely and sad and you're feeling lonely and sad and it's only because you're not connecting. So you need to do that. And just reach out in general. I do that. Just reach out in general to any star people that are feeling lonely. I do that. You know, we're very cuddly. Well, we're a hell. I mean, if you're a hell, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for other races, the Andromedans, but I would imagine, whatever you are, Arcturian, and some of those races definitely connect with your people too. You know, um, love is love. They love you and they understand what's going on. Maybe it's a little different because they're in a different what mental, not like us. The hell are 4D, just like you guys, just like we're all, on your Tau SETI and all that, we're all 4D. Don't let anybody tell you anything differently. Just because we can access 5D doesn't mean we're there. We're 4D mentally, physically. That's something to really be aware of. They're hanging on by a thread too. So they're individuals, working under the people, and they, the decisions that get made are made by higher ups, and that's something that we're going to start addressing. I know Ika can't address that. He has to be very careful. You understand that. If he fudges anything on the mission, they'll throw him out into another area, and that's the last thing he wants. He wants to be here, and he plays the game because he has to. So, sometimes he sneaks out. He shows me stuff I shouldn't see, like the med bed pieces. That was 2 years ago. That's which is yeah, he's disappointed with that. It was kind of a surprise. Um, the real what do you this trickle stuff, right? We're thinking it's going to be catastrophic no matter what. That what do you want to say about what you know? It's complicated. He's like it's always so complicated. He's here because of the Terrans investment in the structure in the infrastructure. Okay. So what he's trying to say is there's a comfort zone, right? There's just this comfort zone. He says it's going to be very disruptive no matter how you do it. And when he means, I mean, talking about rolling out the technology. It's just so like it's like bang your head against the wall, right? Yeah, exactly. So he, not so much him, but like higher ups they're in negotiations with the governmental systems here, and of course the Terran governmental systems are, you showing me rams, sheep fight when they whack their heads. Because the entire infrastructure, right, the political, everything, the game here on Earth is run by these corporations that are evil. And he says they got so much of a grasp. Like he's showing me like, claws, they're just clawed into the earth. They're the ones destroying the earth, as we all know. They're the ones making people sick. They're the ones that are causing a lot of this problem because there's still, how do you want to describe? I mean, it's just, it's like the change is going to be so hard for a lot of people. And it isn't like so many people are loving the status quo. They're not, but it's what they know. Okay. He says the thing that the envoys, boots on the ground, have to understand is that your understanding isn't, you're not a Terran. This is not your planet. So you see things very differently because you know about things very differently. You know what actual existence is. And he says it's a double-edged sword because that's what is so difficult and traumatic for you to fall and play this game here on Earth because you already know that this game here on Earth is just an entrapment. That life doesn't have to be so difficult. That life doesn't have to be a struggle. And he says, and yet you have to survive here physically. You have to pay your rents or your mortgages. He says you have to get your transportation. You have to feed yourself. He says, and it's so complicated because you understand deep down that the way that this system is rigged here is not fair and that you shouldn't have to struggle for these kinds of things. But it's impossible the way the system is set up on purpose, of course, right? On purpose, he says. So he keeps going. He says it's important, and you know this already that the system is a mirage. But it's like it's a self. It's like the snake that eats its own tail. It's a self-replicating, self-perpetuating, perpetual motion machine system that you know feeds off of the mass struggle because it is the mass struggle which maintains the status quo, which forces people to live in a state of subsistence, to live in a state of dearth, which he understands is not just a mindset, because you can have an abundance mindset, but the system here is rigged that for that to exist in that one of dearth. So he says it's that dichotomy that is so difficult and it's hard for them to watch. He said it's hard for you to experience. And then you knew this when you came in, but I don't think any of us, right? Did you? He says in the bigger picture we understood, but when you're actually in it, it's a whole different thing. I know. It's like He says, I know it's just words. He says, there's great compassion as we see our family struggle here on this planet. He says, there's really not a lot we can do because if we were to do something to assist you financially using your monetary system here on Earth, say to give you some kind of rare metals or something that would be of enormous value on this planet, it would get you killed because they knew what happened. And that's very traumatic. And I know that's why we need to move this. Because I know we need to move this forward. Do you want me to say this? I'm going to say this. Now, you're not saying this, even though you just placed it in my mind. But it isn't. I want to protect him. I'm going to say this, right? This is out of my words. This is not Eeka's words. That the system upstairs, and I've been upstairs, and a lot of this is what you guys need to do, okay? The extraterrestrials, not the people who have star-seeded, right? The extraterrestrials in the military and in the systems on this mission are limited in what they can do. However, it is really important that you guys, the starseeds, be the broken wheel that's going to get the grease. You need to go upstairs. This is what we've been doing. I'm going to let you know about this. You need to go upstairs. And I know a lot of you have already been doing this. And you need to be very vocal with the organizations and councils and meetings that are happening upstairs. And you need to stress to them that the situation here on Earth right now is very dire, not only for the Earthlings, the Terrans, but for you guys and the boots on the ground military that are here and facing these struggles. And you didn't sign up with the expectations that the can is going to be kicked down the road and that a lot of negotiations are going to be happening that are really kind of unfruitful and this chess game keeps playing and ping pong, whatever you want to call it. I call it like a tennis match keeps moving on. And we do understand the complexity, but we're feeling a little bit, oh, unheard, I guess is the word. And we understand that, see, because it's a psyop, right? So you guys can't have the information for so many reasons, just like the other ETs aren't getting the information because they can't have it. It's just for so many reasons because the bad guys can access this information. And what we call the disclosure method, right? That's happening, can't be revealed, obviously, because it's a military tactic. But this ping pong has to come to a head. And there are some very high level groups, councils, and those kinds of things upstairs that are pushing for this to move forward a little faster. So you got to go up there and start being, excuse me, a squeaky wheel. And that's what we've been doing. So that's kind of pushed things ahead a little bit. So going back to him, going back to, yeah. Okay, what do you want to? I want to mention that, if you guys, the hot war, that's still on the cards, right? I'm gonna say that. Everybody knows that that's on the card, right? Yeah, everybody says, yeah, the hot war is still on the cards. Um, what can you say about that? Ultimately, like obviously, because we don't want to see anything like that. He's not sure what's going to happen yet. He says the plan is to try to avoid a hot war as much as possible. And I've heard that part of the reason is because in a hot war, the deep state would then use the media to, okay, he's all right. Well, let me just say this first. So, okay, so the hot war would use the media and they would make it look like the aliens are invading and all that stuff. Okay, he says in a hot war we would take over the media. And we can he says and this is okay. Let me just you go on and just go on and say this. Okay. Militarily in a hot war, they are far superior to what the deep state has. And any of the deep state's attempts to counter in a hot war would be swiftly removed. They would not be able to create, what do you call it? Yeah, he says they would not be able to create or sustain a Project Bluebeam or sustain any campaign whatsoever. He said immediately all of the media will be taken down. He said, but this is what you would see. Okay. It would be very, very frightening for most of the population here to experience an extraterrestrial hot war, even though they've been in one, right? I mean, it's kind of like, yeah. He said, yeah, because a noose would be put around the neck of the cabal very quickly. It would be very traumatic for the population to witness because the infrastructure would be taken down immediately. So there would be basically no means of communication. Everything would go dark, I was going to say. Okay. Um, they're trying, right. He says, that's what it would look like. He says, but you would right, and tell people here, you would understand that, what was going on. It would be frightening. I mean, let's face it, you guys all been in galactic hot wars, and they're not fun. There's no. So the chipping away right now of the cabal creates, oh, actually, that's one of the questions I want to ask you. Can I? Yeah. The media question, which has been pissing everybody off. Why is the media still standing? He says you overestimate the power the media has. He says the PSYOP campaign that has been happening by the good guys, right, has really eroded the foundation of the mainstream media's platform. There are only a small percentage of the population that actually even pay attention to mainstream media, and it was going to be very shocking to them when these things come out. The goal with the media is to slowly fade in a new form of the media using the same platforms, but one in which the negative psychological operations, which is what the media is an arm of the negative side, will just simply become positive. That is the main strategy right now. Part of what's happening is we are allowing the media, well, not you specifically, it's not you, no, not me specifically, the operations, right? The operations right now, he says, are put into place. They're allowing the media to take itself down. Okay. Yeah. And most of the people are using their own power, which is part of what the second part of this ground mission here on Earth involved. The Starseed Envoy program. It was their role to be the infiltrators on the ground because it was the best way in which to operate this galactic based psychological operations to infiltrate the minds of the Earthlings in a way that we couldn't do directly from upstairs due to, what do you want to say, three, so you'll say three letter, the counterinsurgents, right? The three-letter agencies, your governments. All right. He says, yeah, he says everything we ever try to do directly upstairs, including those missions that involve direct contact, were wiped away. So using almost, kind of like spies, really. He's planting the spies directly in the Terran body, allowed for this sort of end game to be unleashed. That's what you witness here now with this Envoy Starseed program and the walk-ins. I said that in yeah, it's the walk-ins. And part of that mission was for them, the Starseeds, right, to be, the extraterrestrial and in the wolf's clothing, right? He says that's what they are, extraterrestrials in the wolf's clothing, which could then softly begin to plant the seeds and change the minds and the thinking of the Terrans. And how have we done? He's done great. He's laughing. He done great. Yeah. Okay. We feel it's too slow. You agree? He agrees. That something had to be up, don't you think? Yes. Something had to be up. Um, I'm just trying to process you guys coming to us at this point in full contact, which is which is the plan right now from upstairs, right? This is 2025 is the plan for open. What are you saying about open contact? You don't know. You think there may be, all right? Yeah. He says if how do you want to describe that? Rock and roll? Yeah. Okay. If things get rock and roll, he says the military would uh, begin to roll out open contact with the technologies initially. He says the main goal is the technologies. He says, see, that's what they're doing right now. Okay, here we go. Okay, okay. He says that's what's happening right now with all this disclosure stuff. He says, don't expect the government to do the disclosure. That's not really going to happen. That's not actually what's happening. Okay. He says these whistleblowers that they're bringing forward, he says this is all part of our psychological operations campaign. Some of the goodness, what do you say government? Some of the okay, let's just say negative. Some of the negative government, right, is trying to control some of this whistleblower narrative. But he says it doesn't really matter because even if this is where they're between a rock and the bad guys, right? Yeah, is this is where the bad guys are between a rock and a hard place because we now have enough safety in place where the whistleblowers can come forward. We're not going to get killed. Yeah, he says where the whistleblowers can come forward, which is a real problem for the bad guys because he says what you're seeing now is some of the bad guys are trying to control some of the whistleblowers. He says some of the whistleblowers. Let's just say one thing, right? He's all the whistleblowers really are real. They're the real whistleblowers. None of them are not our psyops. They're the real thing. He says some of what they've seen is ET and some of what they've seen is not. Is our tech. It's the Earth tech, right? It's the Earth tech. Either way, he says it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if it's Earth tech or if it's ET tech. The main the main goal of this whistleblower mission is to put this in front of the regular people. He says, I know you guys are always, you know, hey, he's playing with it, right? He's like, yeah, that's me because you guys are trying to he says, test your strength and knowing what's real and he says, but the real purpose of this, whether it's ET or not, is to roll it in front, make it become more normalized, to get it in front of the population so that they start to think about this stuff, so that they don't start to see it as little green men stuff. He says, what's happening here is they're starting to understand, and this is super important. He says your regular population who isn't aware of any of this stuff. He says you have to take that perspective into account. He says you guys have done so much, and you're very well celebrated for the sacrifices that you've made. He said, but it is now time. So he's okay, all right, I see what you're saying. Okay, so he said, let me say it. Okay, he says, so I'm just gonna say what he just said. I know this is telepathy, folks. Pain in the butt for me. It's a lot of work for me. So what he threw into my head quickly was, so we've done all of our stuff, right? We've come forward and come forward and come forward. He says, but what he was saying is that, the tinfoil hat thing, that there's still some people in the population who can't really process what we're talking about. He says, we're still seen as a tinfoil hat. He says, but wait, so that's the thing. He says they had to make the jump. So you had to make the jump. How could you reveal hard evidence without hard evidence, basically, um, to help soften the mental jump for people who couldn't make this mental jump? And he says, this is how it's being done. He says, now keep doing what you're doing. He says, that's what he's saying. Keep you guys that keep pushing, push. So he can't stress enough how important it is for us to keep doing what we're doing. All of you to keep doing what you're doing. He says, don't fall for any of the traps. Just keep moving forward. Just keep moving forward. He says, understands it can be really difficult, but just keep going and keep talking and keep coming out. That's important. He says, because we're going to support you. He says, this is what's happening now. It's being supported with evidence that even though it may not be as hard evidence that some people may need, it doesn't matter. It's there and they are receiving it. So that when whatever is going to happen happens, and he doesn't know yet what that's going to be. He says, that's what's happening right now. We're preparing for all sorts of circumstances that could arise to make it the least painful it can be. No matter what, he says, is going to be a little shocking. Not for you, not for, well, I think it is going to be anyway, really, I think it's, yeah. He says, this is hard for everybody, us included, everyone, upstairs, we're all in the same boat. It's just going to be rough. And just because of what's been done here, it's so bad. It's just going to be hard for some people. And they're just going to, all right, some people are just going to have to deal with this on their own. They're just going to have to process. And that's what he always says. And I think when they meet you in person, they'll see that. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's yeah, they're there. And I think that, what do you think of, I just want to, and we're telepathing. I'm sorry, guys. We're just, we're just rolling some ideas back to each other. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. What about the actual ETs who are here in their real bodies that are working amongst people? There's thousands of them. And you don't know. Well, we would know. But I mean, your average human doesn't understand. They don't know yet. So, yeah, I think that's really going to help a lot of people because they've already met them. So there's a lot of people on this planet who have actually met. And that's when we talk about, yes, when it gets, yeah, that's when it gets really kind of fishy when we talk about contact because it's already here, guys. They're already here and they've been here. I don't mean the bad guys, they've been here. I mean the good ETs. They're here, walking and living and working amongst us, making a living here. And it's kind of an adventure for a lot of them. I can't speak for everybody because there's thousands of them. I think a lot of it is a little shocking for something. But they're already here interacting with you. And this has been going on for a long time, no matter what. And you get the, there's going to be a lot of humans who have already met and are going to find out that their neighbor, the guy they work with, the lady they work with, the people they may have walked by, they no, weren't born on Earth. And I think that's going to be very simple for them to kind of process and understand, right? And that's why I like to, just stress that, and Eeka always stresses that too. Like he's just a man, and he is. His body it's being poisoned now. He's like, yes, his body's being poisoned now. But when he was growing up and everything, body wasn't poisoned and all that stuff. So. And he's a different race, just like, someone's Japanese or somebody's from Uganda or somebody's from Kentucky. I mean, he's just a different race. He looks like a man. It's a man. I mean, if you were to meet him in person, you would meet a man. I mean, that's what he is, Now I can sense different because, and of course you guys probably started, you can feel it too, but I can sense, a familiarity for me, with him if he is made of home. Does that make, I don't describe it, I try to describe this to you. a Charon, just like me in this body, it's kind of always felt really hard for me to be in this body. I don't feel like I'm in my body. It's really, really weird for me. I have a hard time being in this body. He loves this body because it's exotic. And that helps me a lot, his desire for me in this body. Um, because it kind of grounds me in it a little bit more because I feel like it has a purpose then. But anyway, his body, because it's made from it's made from those materials. There's not a Earth, planets are made out of planet materials, There's not a whole lot of difference between them. Well, I should, the humans, let me just say. But I mean, obviously grays are made out of different stuff. I mean, there's a whole, we're looking at insectoids, stuff like that can be a little different. But you're not talking about humans. The body's the same. It's just, there's a little slight difference. And I can sense that, in his body. But it's yeah, they're the same, they eat food, all that stuff. We won't mention bathrooms, God forbid, but there's bathrooms on the ships, folks, right? So it's all the same. So that's gonna be easy for people, I think, once they understand that. I would, ask, I want to have people, we should wrap this up. What are we gonna do next? Oh yeah, I was going to go outside the chickens. That's right. We're going to go outside the chickens. We're going to bring their snacks. We're going to bring the chickens their snacks. So I'm going to wrap this up. We got chores, buddy. Yep. You should see Jesse. He's still down there cussing. He hates Eeka with me. He's so jealous. He's so jealous. He's down here making. You can probably. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's like down there, like he hates it. Anyway. Yeah, I want to have people, put questions, talk to your family, obviously, number one. Ask Ika yourself, number two, but at least then we can do a podcast. That's the best. There we go. I don't want to be the only, person that talks to this guy. And I'm not, obviously. Oh, he talks to other people all the time. And anybody who tells you the only person talking to their ET is full of shit. Let me just be honest with you. Full of shit. Just use your common sense, folks. Do you really think a Syrian or a Pleiadian or whatever the hell these people say they're talking to is only talking to them? Of course not. They're talking to other beings upstairs. They're working with other humans. That's bullshit. And that's what Ika says. And he tries to be nice about it, but he's just like, don't get caught up in that kind of stuff. Anyway, to make a long story short, what I'm asking, just because we can do a conversation, which is kind of nice in public and as a group. If you have any questions for him, don't hold back on any questions. Except, right? Oh, no, guys, I'm going to say it. No, he's like, don't say it, don't say it. Like, oh, can you fart in those suits? I gotta say it. Oh, he's dying. Oh, he's dying. All right. He won't answer poop questions, so. Oh, Camiel will. But he doesn't wear those uniforms, does he? So, uh, he's like, he's like walking away. All right. Now, so anyway, if you have, if you have some questions, I'd love to, throw them in the comments, send them an email, my Facebook page, whatever. I'll put those links in here. Yeah. So, but if you put them in the comments, then it's easier for me to write them down. I'm not all over the place. See, I'm lazy. The hell are lazy, by the way. We like to be pleasured. But write your questions in the comments. Anything you want him to discuss, so we can talk about that again when he has some free time. And I think that'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, I can't do these as a live because it would be weird. You just see me staring at the floor. It'd be really gross. It's like that's like it because I gotta sit back and hear this stuff. So I'm telepathing, not channeling. So yeah, write any questions you have for him in the comments, and he'll read them. He can see them through my eyes, so he'll read them, and yeah, we can bring that up. As he's back, he came back. He's like, I come back. He says we can do this as he says he wants to do it again. Yeah, he wants to connect with you guys and chat with you. So yeah, for sure, he feels good about doing that. he's lonely. Well, you come here we're together every morning, but he wants to be, he's kind of a social person, which I'm not, but he's very social. And he likes to spend time with people. What is wrong with you? Well, of course, I like spending time with you guys because we're all in the same sinking ship, the sinking ship crew. So for sure. All right. Well, get out your popcorn, as I think, as I like to say, that I think the rats are jumping off the ship at this point. Anyway, here we go. So, oh my God, Jesse is so angry down there. All right. Write your comments. We'll be in touch, guys. See you upstairs.